Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new episode of the Coding Challenge. In today's challenge, we are going to be creating a program that gives us the odd numbers between 1 and 5 and adds it into an array called odd underscore numbers. Now, the way that I would recommend you guys try this at home is through a service called Replit. So what you want to do is you want to open yourselves a new tab on your computer. You just want to go ahead and search up Replit. Now you'll see it's a software company, and I'm not going to go into detail of who they are, but what I am going to be doing is I will be going to their website. Now in here, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and sign up if you've not already signed up, and you want to create yourself a new REPL right here. Now, once you go in here, in your templates, you want to go ahead and find yourselves Node.js. You can go ahead and search it up like this, and the first thing that pops up is going to be it, or you can explore and find it there. Both make sense. Now, the reason why I'm telling you to use Node.js is because it's a runtime environment. And basically, it does exactly what it says. It runs code for you. It's like a compiler, right? It runs code for you, uh, JavaScript code for you, and gives you the results. So go ahead and make that, and yeah, and it's usually used in backend development. But you know, we're just using it to learn a JavaScript and do a challenge, so it's fine. All right. So go ahead and just create your REPL afterwards. I already have myself a REPL right here, so I'm just gonna use this. All right, here's a challenge, right? And you guys are gonna have the chance now to go ahead and try this out. So I'm gonna give you guys about 2 minutes. Sorry, not 2 minutes. You can just go ahead and pause the episode right now. All right, I hope you tried it out. If you didn't, that's no problem. Let's learn. So the way that I would go around this is by using a for loop. And now the reason why I would use a for loop is because it's telling us a range. It's like, okay, we need the odd numbers between 1 and 5. So how do I make it so that I can run the if statement so that, we can figure out if it's an odd number between 1 and 5? Well, we can use for loops because this is telling us that we're going to need stuff that's going to be repeated, right? Because it's saying we need to find the odd number between 1 and 5, right? So we need to go through each number and see, look, is 1 odd? Yes. Is 2 odd? No. Is 3 odd? No. And then we can do, the operations afterwards. So let's create a for loop. So this is how you do it. You'd first do the keyword of for, and then you'd initialize it, right? So you do I equals to 1. Now you don't have to use I. You could use a different variable, and it would work as expected. But the reason why I use I is because many people in programming use I as well for it. So it's kind of like a universal thing to do. But you don't have to do it. You can put car in it for all they care. JavaScript doesn't care. But if you put car over here, right? Like for example, if I put car over here, then the next statement, which is going to be actually the condition, will have to be car as well. But just to keep it simple, I'm just going to use I, and I would highly recommend that you guys use I as well for when you're dealing with loops. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to have to add a condition, right? I couldn't spell it properly. But anyways, we have to add a condition. Now the reason why we have to add a condition, and I'll explain this in a second, is so that the for loop and JavaScript knows when to end the loop, right? It doesn't keep running infinitely, right? First of all, that's not good. That means that your code is broken. And second of all, that takes a lot of CPU. This would probably go off the charts if I just kept letting it run, right? So we don't want that. That's why we have to create a condition so that it stops somewhere, right? In this case, we want to stop after I equals hits 5. All right. But now you might be asking yourselves, how do I make it so that every time this runs, the variable I, right, it becomes the next number, right? It keeps adding onto itself so that we know when if it hits 5, right, it stops. Well, that's the next thing that you need to add. The next, what you'd call argument to add. That would just be I plus plus. All right, I'm gonna close this off and I'll explain what I plus plus means. So I plus plus means that every time this thing is ran, this loop is ran, it's gonna add the next number to I. It's gonna add the next number to I. For example, when it's first ran, it'll add 2 to I because, well, it starts with 1, and then when you do the plus plus, right, operation, it'll add 2. Then the next time it'll add 3. The next time it'll add 4, right? So that kind of deal. All right, so now if I do a simple console.log just to see how this works, as you can see, it does exactly what we told it in the arguments, right? It starts off at 1 as seen over here. Then because of this, then it goes through this condition. It's like, okay, is this less than or equal to 5? Well, it's less than 5. That means we can keep running it. So it runs to the next problem, and then, well, then what it does is it says, okay, since this passed, we can add another number to I, right? So then it adds 2. Then it reruns the program since it's in a loop. And again, well, now it ignores this. Well, this will be ignored because this is now 2, is no longer 1. Now I is 2. So then it goes back to the condition. It's like, okay, is I less than or equal to 5? And yes, 2 is less than or equal to 5. And then it'll add another number because of this. And it keeps doing this until it reaches 5. Now, once it reaches 5, it'll go to this condition, and JavaScript will be like, hey, this is equal to 5. And so it'll continue on. But then as soon as it hits next time, right, it'll be like, okay, this is not less than 5, nor does it equal to 5, because you want it to run to 6. So then it'll break it'll stop it, not break it. That's not the best terminology. It would stop this. So anyways, we're gonna do an if statement here. We're gonna add an if statement here. So we're gonna say if, let's say if I, right, the reason why we're adding an if statement, by the way, is so that we can check if, see, it's in English. We could check if it's an odd number, right? That's why you use an if statement. That's how I like to remember it. So in if, we have to put if it I, and I'll explain this operator. It's a really cool operator. Now, oh, whoops, wrong one. Okay, so now what this operator does is it actually finds the remainder when you divide it by this number. So for example, if I, let me just put in a comment. If I were to, let's say I was 3, and if I divided it by 2, right, it would go ahead and check what's the remainder. So as you can see, it's a math thing. Okay, it's called modulo. So you can search it up actually. Yeah, so it's the remainder when dividing. And so it's a math thing. So if you guys didn't know that, well, you learned. And the remainder would be 1, right? So it would actually go ahead and give you the remainder of 1, right? So what we need it to do, and since we want it to be an odd number, right? We'll know that if we know that even numbers divide by 2 and they'll perfectly, right? So that means there'll be a 0 remainder. So that means since odd number is the opposite of even number, we can just say that if the remainder, this is essentially what I'm gonna, to make this easier for us, let remainder equal I divided by 2. Whoops. Sorry, modulo 2 and remainder. So if remainder is not 0, then we will run the next operation that we need to run. And this is because it's the even numbers are the opposite of odd numbers. That means that odd numbers will never divide into uh 2 evenly. It'll never divide into 2 evenly. This is basic math that we know. So yeah, just thought I'd explain it, to make it more easier. So now let's create our actual array. So we're gonna call this odd underscore numbers as our challenge instructed, and we're just gonna keep it as an empty array. Now what we can do is, if this is correct, we can just do an odd underscore numbers dot push. Okay, this is a function in JavaScript. You can see over here, it adds new elements to the array, and what we want to add is I at that time, because again, remember, it adds the new value, right, the new number to it, so it'll be the proper number that will be added. Now what we want to do is we just want to do a simple console.log, just to see if this worked. Okay, now if this does work, this whole array we can use for other functions that we need, right? So yeah, so if I run this now, sorry, if I run this now, node index.js, I prefer a shell, by the way, but you can just press run and it will go ahead and run it in the console. But as you can see over here, it works perfectly. It isn't an array because of these brackets, and it gives us the results that we're looking for, right? This is between 5, and it gives you the odd numbers. Now, if you wanted the even numbers, you can just make this so that it equals 0, right? Because then we want it so that the remainder, there is no remainder, right? Because we know all even numbers can divide into 2 perfectly. And when we do this, sorry, you can see we do get the the even numbers. So we could, now what we can do is, this is like kind of like an extension thing we could do, is we can add an else statement here, and in here we'll create a new uh, array called even underscore numbers, and we'll give it a empty array, and we'll give this. So what this does is, if it isn't an odd number, because it has a remainder of 0, which is what all even numbers are supposed to have, we can just add uh, that number to our even numbers list. And what we can do is, in our console.log, when you use these ticks, by the way, you can actually add variables in your strings by doing this syntax. So yeah, that's a really cool thing. So we could be like odd numbers and odd underscore numbers, and then console.log even numbers, and right in here we'll put in our a variable which has our array of even numbers. Now if we decide to run this, so I'm just going to clear everything so it's more organized. As you can see, we do get our exactly what we wanted. So we get an odd numbers of 1, 2, 3, 1, 3, and 5, and then even numbers of 2 and 4. So that's a cool little script that we're working on, and this challenge is officially solved. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you guys in the next episode.